Okay, we are recording. Welcome to the ADHD Rewired weekly coaches recap, where I, Coach Brian Entler, meet with Coach Kristin Marts and another member of our community to recap what's going on in that week of ADHD Rewired's coaching and accountability programs. I'm going to start our count up timer because we like to keep these short form. That's more a tool for our needs, but it might help you as well. This week, we are welcoming alumnus and former admin Sharon Germain and a newly certified coach themselves to discuss week 4 of our coaching and accountability program. Hello, Sharon.
Hello, folks. How are you?
Fantastic. And hello, Kristin. How you doing?
Doing great. Hey, Sharon, can you tell us where you reign from?
Actually, I reign from Victoria, BC, which is in Canada on the wet coast. So reigning is actually very appropriate. Different spelling, but it's the same idea. Although right now it is kind of sunny. So
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Okay, fantastic. And I'm going to just remind the folks at home that Kristin and I are both alumnus of the ADHD Rewired coaching programs, that we eventually became admins and then we eventually became coaches. Sharon is a fabulous admin and former member. But Sharon, can you tell us briefly about your history? When was your first season and what has happened since then?
Okay, so my season was 29. I think was that 2021 or something like that? I have no idea.
I believe
Okay.
it would have been 2022 because you were in
2022.
my
Okay.
section.
Right. So that was shortly after I got diagnosed. So I was sort of mid getting in the process of getting diagnosed. I had just recently discovered that I was not actually going insane. I just had ADHD. So I hopped on board with Kristin's group and went through that season, and I kind of fell in love with the program. And after that, I realized I had an option rather than continuing to pay for the program. I decided to admin. And so I admin with Kristin and I've admin with Brian. So I've admin for 3 or 4 seasons now.
Ooh.
And I love it. Life got a bit busy for me, so I haven't admin for a couple of seasons, but
A quick pause. If you're new
yeah.
to listening to the program that we're doing here today, admins are our peer mentors who assist the coaches and the members in a section for an entire season.
I was more of the heckling crew. I
Well, don't underestimate the importance of the admins. Admins are people who are alumnus who
yeah,
voluntarily come back to kind of ride along,
yeah.
assist the coach with administrative stuff, which we greatly, dearly appreciate, but
Mhm.
also act as a peer support person for the people in the coaching program, someone that they can turn to for questions or support, or if they are confused
Yeah,
about a point, want to workshop something more deeply. So as someone who is knowledgeable, has been through the program, and as relates to their experience, that can also provide, administrative support. So we
yeah,
also greatly value that role. Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, and it was great. Because it continually hearing from other people and what their experience was going through the program absolutely deepened my knowledge of the material. So going through it the first time, it was so new because I was recently diagnosed. So the whole idea of ADHD was fairly new, and the concepts that everybody was talking about were quite new. So the first time through, I learned a lot, and it was sort of after the program that I started to really be able to put some of it into practice. As I went through it the first time, a lot of it was just simply getting acquainted with what the language was, what it meant, and practicing with stuff and playing around with it a bit, and then figuring out sort of how it could be used. And the more I use it and the more I hear other people how they use it, because not everybody uses it the same. Like all of the tools, everybody sort of puts their own spin on it. So when I was able to go through and hear from different people, stuff that originally I thought, yeah, I don't need that. Second or third season, I would hear somebody else using it in a different way, and it would be like, oh, wait a minute, that might work, so
Yeah.
that, yeah. So that's been very helpful. And the community itself was just that alone, you know, hearing other people talk about their struggles and hearing other people talking about the fact that, you know, they were late, or that, more to my point, if they had a meeting all day in mid-afternoon, that they spent all day preparing for that meeting and couldn't do anything else. Stuff like that was just gold for me, because I thought that was the stuff that made me think I was insane. But hearing other people struggling with it, and that it was attached to this wonderful neurodivergence called ADHD, made it just that much easier to look at it, accept it, and then work with it. Yeah.
And I'd like to provide that distinction that when you said you're hearing people using the strategies and tools in different ways, that was as you were participating in the after community, our online community,
Yeah.
after the program.
That's
The normalization piece was coming from being in the admin
Yeah.
role, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of the community too.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah,
Yeah.
all of that, all of the above.
Yeah. We like to think that like the best outcomes, if our program is 10 weeks long, which is a really good chunk of time, and long enough for us to like practice what happens when novelty wears off and routines break down, and then we have to reboot them. But if it was 10 months long or 10 years long, you would still have ADHD at the end of it. So that's why we have this ongoing community afterwards, we can stay together, keep networking, and still building on that. And we have tons and tons of good programming on there for folks to keep working with these tools. Speaking of which, let's pivot. Let's talk about the tools and strategies we learned in week 4. Kristin, what are your quick take, top things in week 4? What do we do?
Oh, top things in week 4. I think we do introduce some psychoeducation a little bit around executive function and what those categories are, of what that does for us and to us and sometimes against us, and how can we pivot and work with that to build better habits. And by better, I mean what works better for each individual. There's no cookie cutter best. You do, like Sharon said, have to make it your own to make it fit in your life and your lifestyle and how you go about the role. It is still better habits and routines. It is still a process. You can't change a habit overnight. And so we help to kind of leverage the idea of narrative telling, narrative writing, even with comic strip, if you want to just doodle it out, to paint that picture, tell that story of what you want your ideal bedtime routine. This is the one we focus on. What you want that bedtime routine to look at, to include the thoughts that are going on for you, keeping positive thoughts going, to put in reminders into that narrative. And I think it's just a way to sort of reinforce, as you practice, you can put in 1 or 2 things at a time. You don't have to try to practice it all, and then when it all falls apart, feel like a failure. So I love this. One of the exercises I really love is that storytelling piece around what does it look like? What do I want my routine to look like?
Well, yeah, we talk about the idea of habits and routines in general, but in coaching, we like to always base these in real life information. We don't just talk about habits and routines in the abstract, because that might be informative, but it's not super helpful. We need to apply that to our lives. Like what we do is we go through like some prompts, and we gather real life data from our coaching members' lives, and then start workshopping with it. And we frame it in the context of nighttime and morning routines, like how we get ready to go to bed, because one, it's kind of a twofer, because those are super critical areas of ADHD management. Our level of fatigue, how much sleep we get, it's counterintuitive. Like the amount of sleep we get directly affects our executive function and the expression of our ADHD, but ADHD often makes it difficult for us to get to sleep. So we address 2 of those issues at the same time. Like, so let's have a twofer, and let's work on how do we examine the idea of building a new habit or routine, but in the context of nighttime, sleep management, daytime. I kind of get a little bit of both. So we actually take information from people's real life things. We go through the prompts, and we actually sit down there and we do the math. We back it up, and like, how long does this actually take you? Does it really take you that long? What are getting in the way? And this is a kind of our holistic approach, where we like to coach around practical skills. But anytime we try to change something like this, defense mechanisms are going to come up. Those insecurities are going to come out. Those things that we're not even aware of. So then we always bring those out into the open and coach around them at the same time. But yeah, I love the idea of like workshopping and building the idea of like how nighttime routines work, because that's really an issue that affects every single ADHD person. So we can all pull in our real life experiences. I have always had a very complicated relationship with sleep, and I am going to say I've slowly made progress over the 2 or 3 years or so since I've been around here. And it is a process, but like it's really been, it absolutely paid all the time I've invested in that has really paid off.
Mhm.
Um, so Sharon, your thoughts. What are your thoughts on the like habit and routine breakdown in general and or the sleep management piece? How is that translated in your life after ADHD Rewired or after your 10-week coaching program?
Right. So the first thing that that I think of when I think about that part of the program was the major aha about the correlation between executive function and building habits and routines. And the fact that by having a routine, it freed up that executive function by doing something repetitively, and I didn't have to continually think about it. That was so beneficial for me. And building a nighttime routine and a morning routine. And of course, backing up, we did the time tracking, right? Where we figured out how long it was going to take, right? Having all of that information and being able to put it into a routine so that I didn't have to think about it anymore. That I knew that I needed, 15 minutes to get to bed. And I knew that, I needed to get to bed at 10 o'clock if I want to get up at 6 and I want to have 8 hours. And just gathering all of that information and then being able to put it into practical use, do it and see the benefit of it and understand that was the relationship, rather than previously it was all sort of haphazard. It was kind of like, well, I felt better today, but I didn't really know why I felt better today. Well, I felt better today because I got 8 hours sleep. How did I get 8 hours of sleep? I got, lights out at 10. How did I get lights out at 10? Well, I started my bedtime routine at 9:30. Prior to actually making a conscious decision about doing all of that stuff, I never knew. It was always haphazard. It was like sometimes I felt better, sometimes I didn't. Now I know when I feel like shit, excuse the French, it's because I didn't follow my routine and I didn't do all that stuff. So yeah, that was like you say, the sleep thing, really, really important, and building like the morning routine and and knowing like the point of performance comes in with this week too, right? So knowing that I have to have certain things in certain places, otherwise I'll forget them. And and that's been like I've moved recently and I've changed my job recently and I've done a bunch of changes, which totally threw all of that out the window. But I know now it's like, oh, I need to get back to building my routines again. And I can't just transfer the routines I had in my old job and my old home. They don't necessarily transfer directly. I have to rebuild them. But knowing that is huge. It gives me a place to start. It gives me something to work on rather than just simply throwing my hands up in the air and saying, my life is a mess from now until eternity because things have changed, and now I know, no, things have changed. So I need to change the things I know that keep me healthy.
One of the things that I like about the whole bedtime routine is I know too, because I know the expectation and have predictability around it, I know that I can pivot from it, maybe to go to a late night movie. And I can already be processing, okay, what am I going to cut out? What am I going to move to the morning that I need to do before I leave work? Will I need to wake up a little bit earlier or a little bit late? That has really helped too, so that I don't just fall apart the next day and I don't deny myself of, outings and things for fun, because that's important in our life too.
The other thing I want to mention too is that because I have a routine and I've done the time tracking, I know how long things take. I'm more likely to stick with my routine because I know it. Because I know it's, like at the end of the day when I'm tired and I just want to close my eyes, it's like, no, it's only going to take me 15 minutes to have a shower. Rather than thinking in my head, oh my God, there's 2 hours and I'm too, I haven't got time to have a shower. Well, now I know, no, it takes me 15 minutes. It's not a big deal. Right. So all of that helps me build the routine and then maintain the routine because I know, right. I'm not guessing anymore. Well, sometimes I am guessing.
One thing that you said that encapsulated the whole thing about, partially encapsulated the whole thing about routines is like, we build routines because it requires less executive function to act out a routine. Rather than doing a series of like, if we have 10 tasks, if we're reinventing the wheel every time we approach one of the tasks. But if we build a routine, we put effort and intention in building routine, we can proceed through those with less executive function.
Yeah,
We don't have
absolutely.
to, we don't have to exert as much. We can basically increase our leverage our efficiency. Like if it's already familiar, we just know the next thing, we know that intuitively. We don't have to exact multiple functions switching from one thing to another. And that's because that helps us reduce our vulnerability to transitions.
Yes.
The
Yes.
black hole that
Totally.
exists
Oh, yeah.
between tasks. Like whenever we like to think, oh, I'm going to go to sleep tonight, and that means doing step A, step B, step C. But that actually means if those things are not in a, if we haven't like put those things together, we actually have to start task A, then we have to stop task A, then we have to start task B. It's the little gap between task A and task B when we might get distracted. We might tune out. We might turn on the TV, and next thing you know, it's 4 a.m. and we binge watched 4 seasons of something. So it's like it's the routine, putting time and attention into building routines reduces our vulnerability to those transition fails.
And right. And building the routine so that I know that I'm not going back and forth to a bunch of stuff, building in those opportunities for distraction, right? Like I can build the routine so that I know that, once I'm in the bathroom, I'm going to do everything that needs to be done in the bathroom. I'm not going to do the bathroom and then go to the kitchen and get a drink and then come back to the bathroom. It's like, no, I need to stay in that one room so that I'm not pulled away by something that I see.
There's also the CRS aspect of this. If I don't follow a routine, and I am having to executive function step A, step B, I'm still likely to forget something within step B.
Yeah.
I might say it's my bathroom, go do the things in the bathroom. It's not a routine. And I forget to grab my medicine.
Yeah.
I get all the way down into bed and I go, oh my gosh, I have to get up to take the medicine.
But part of the
and then that's when I stay up late because I've done something else on the way.
Right. And part of the routine for me was, that's funny you should say that, is because when I moved into my new place, I thought, okay, I'm going to put my I had this little medicine cabinet that I hadn't had before. So I thought, oh, I'm going to put my pills in the medicine cabinet because that's where they belong, right? First day, forgot to take them. And I thought, okay, well, that doesn't work. So I just moved them onto the counter. Everything is fine. But that's that thing about, when you change there's that awkward while I build up that new routine and the new point of performance for everything that, it looks good in theory, but it didn't work.
Yeah. For us, there's no supposed to go anywhere, right? Because you said it's supposed to go in the bed.
That's right. It's a medicine cabinet. This is medicine. It should go there. No, it didn't. No. No.
And I'm just pointing out the transitions are kind of like the silent killer. There are transition fails. That thing like we mean to do thing A and then thing B, but somehow between those two things, we got distracted. And ironically, being fatigued, not having good sleep hygiene, not having enough rest, that reduces our executive function. Being fatigued increases our invulnerability to transition fails so much. So that's one of the kind of holistic approaches. Like people say, oh, how do I prevent myself from doing that? Well, pull it back out, make sure we are really healthy in terms of our amount of sleep that we have, amount of our energy levels, physically healthy. That will make us less vulnerable to that. So that's that's connecting it again. That's why we connect these two concepts rather than having an abstract conversation about how routines work and what a routine is. Intellectually, we put it in the context of this very important routine building thing because ironically, supporting better sleep supports better routines and less transition fails.
Yeah, you gapped for a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, did I?
And this is live and uncensored, so we're okay.
Oh no, you mean my internet connection? Oh, I froze.
Yeah, no, sorry, not you. Don't take it personally.
Came back and finished the thought, so it was good.
Oh, and by the way, folks, that wasn't me. That was the internet connection. Although I am known to occasionally disassociate in the middle of a conversation and my mind goes somewhere else. But that's not the case this time. That's fine. And actually, one other thing that just jumped out at this is my way my ADHD brain works. So you said opportunities for distraction. I love that turn of phrase. I'm going to use that for something because it flashed back in my mind. You remember the Guns N' Roses album, Appetite for Destruction?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like, it kind of sounds the same phonetically. And I'm like, oh my God, if I was going to start a rock and roll ADHD band, I might call it Opportunities for Distraction.
Oh, I like that. That's cool. Yeah.
Opportunity for distraction.
Yeah.
I'll wait for your next
Oh,
TikTok, Brian.
oh, you mean my first TikTok? Okay.
Yeah, first. Oh
Ooh,
Yeah.
great. So we're getting close to time. And unfortunately, we could talk about this all day. We really could talk about
yeah.
this all day because we're ADHD, but we're not going to. But let's wrap up with some final thoughts. Kristen, what are you thinking?
Oh
How do you
shit!
want to
You
wrap it
came to
up?
me. Yeah. I need a
Aha.
minute. I need a minute.
Okay, let's go to Sharon.
Oh, oh no, she's got it.
I think I have it.
Oh, she's
Yeah.
thinking of it. Okay, go.
So I'm going to do it like it's a takeaway. My biggest takeaway, and it took till incorporating all these things after the program, was I figured out that my brain wakes up in the morning, my body takes anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes for it to be able to get out of the bed in the morning. That was so impactful for me, and it's been a game changer for morning routines. Even though I'm still struggling with waking up, getting my brain up earlier, it's been one of the biggest helpful things.
Okay, Sharon.
I really appreciate this opportunity to talk about this because it reminds me that I have actually made progress.
Yeah.
You know, you just go along day by day and things, you start implementing things, and it's when I think back about, you know, what it was like when I first started with the program, with the program in the community and everything, and where I'm at now and how helpful it has all been. So that's been great. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate this opportunity. Yeah.
Oh, and I like that what you just said, but it kind of connects to my earlier thought. Like if this program was 10 months or 10 years
Yeah.
long, you'd be like, the program is incremental. That's why we
Yeah.
provide the alumni network for a continuing space where you can continue to interact with other folks who are alumnus, continue to build new things. After my first season, I created my own programming on the alumni network for my own needs that I'm still doing. And that ended up springboarding. That gave me the experience and the confidence to move into coaching. But like, yeah, you're still gonna have people would still have ADHD at the end of 10 weeks. It's like, but a continuing thing. But like the time frame, real progress can happen, but it's on a larger time frame. We need that continuing support. That's why we provide that with our alumni community.
Right. And it just not because I have to have the last word, but, and I won't have the last word, but now I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, I want to
Perfect.
say you're a delight. You have been so helpful as an admin too, and such a great role model in
thank you.
my groups. And I've just seen so much progress because you entered in my section, and this was delightful today.
Yeah.
This conversation.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it
I
was
think that was
lovely.
the perfect last word. I'm going to have the last word. Wait, what was the word? Yeah, I love that. Because that's what we do here. Like we in the coaching environment, we openly embrace the expression of our neurodiversity, just disconnect it from all the negative conditioning we've gotten our whole lives. All right, so we are at 20 minutes, 40 seconds. We're over our maximum time. We are going to wrap it up. If you have any questions about what you heard on this podcast today, feel free to send us a message through the ADHD Rewired website, and we will get in touch with you. With that, I'll say thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
See
you,
y'all next
Kristen, as
week.
always, and we'll see you next
Thanks,
week
Brian.
for talk about week 6. All right, bye, everybody.
Bye.